These are the times that we delve into the mind. Life is beautiful. It's cliche. Life is hard is cliche. Um, life is life and is becoming cliche. What really is life? How do you define it? I'm sure it's a hard thing. Um, we don't even define consciousness, let alone life. But life is happening all around us in all different species. Um, and we so self-absorbed that we don't recognize it. Just caught up in our own little world. What matters only matters to us. Um, but we can be so genuine with one another, depending on how we view each other. At times it can be with malice, venom, prejudice, and all other type of words that one can think of to speak of the divide amongst men. How often do we speak of our solidarity as a whole, as a species, as spirit? We pretty much do the same thing as every other thing. We function. We are atoms that function, that play roles, that take on identities, and so caught up in the identity that the essence of the reality becomes foreign, even though the essence lives within. Yet somehow it still becomes distant. Um, so it's people walking up, they got their dogs, a couple, and that's life interacting with life. On the surface, is different parts. You'll have a female, you'll have a male, you'll have 3 dogs, say it's 2 females, 1 male, but the essence is still the same. If we just stick on the surface, the essence will be the atoms. So that the essence is the same, it doesn't change. But the forms, it take on change. And it's funny how we get caught up in the forms of life and just miss the essence of it. You would think that the essence would be mainstream, but the delusion is mainstream. And the illusion of multiplicity is not a weakness, but not holding the awareness that even though I move in the land of the many, is only one. And if you can hold that awareness as you move through it, life begins to take on a different texture. The words you use to describe it probably changes. The perspective you have about yourself, what you call self, probably grows, deepens. And, You can live in the silence, even though the emotions are the roller coaster of life. You can hold awareness of this motion that seems to be up down, but still be solidified in your stillness, right? You don't have to leave your stillness, even though there's movement all around, seemingly. So the divide doesn't have to be. But we don't criticize the divide. It plays its role. It plays its role. It gives this life character. But it also breeds misery. It also breeds misery if you don't know who you are as the play is playing. As the film is rolling, if you don't know who you are, you get caught up in the role, right? The motion of the role. That you lose yourself and lose that the essence is still, that the essence is one, right? And so there is no judgment for you to cast, because if everything is one in essence, then who is the one that's judging and who is the one being judged? Now, if it's strictly duality, then that's easy to answer. But if the essence is singularity, in essence, then that becomes a tricky question. So then the question becomes, well, how long do you want to live in delusion? How long do you give permission to illusions to play in the mind? Because that's where they play. If I can implant an illusion, an ideal in the mind, and you believe it's strong enough, then that seed will materialize. It has no choice. The seed must grow. So to be mindful of the seeds that's being planted in the mind is very beneficial. And on the surface level, I would say be careful of who you allow to plant seeds in the mind. Well, if I go deeper than that, then that doesn't even matter at that point, because it goes back to that who is judging and who is the one being judged, right? So it can be confusing. That's why the greatest analogy I heard is the ocean and the wave. The wave gets so caught up, metaphorically, the wave gets so caught up in its individuality because it's taking form, that it looks at the ocean in awe, as if the ocean is different from it, right? Like it's this distinct thing. But the ocean itself never loses awareness of essence. The wave is still the ocean. And the ocean always knows this. because of that the state that it holds, that consciousness that it holds in this example. And the wave is that individuality, that personality, that persona that thinks I am this, I am that, I can do this, I can do that. Oh, and then it just subsides back into the ocean. And then at that point, is it still an individual? Nah, it wasn't never an individual. It was an aspect of the ocean. So as an aspect of God, or as an aspect of the one, or as an aspect of self, or source rather, as an aspect, how do you carry yourself? And when your viewpoint starts to view back to that reality, then things change.